Oh, somewhere I've got something on this. Circles. And subheading is area of circles. I think that's what it says there. Gosh, I'm gonna look for it here. Hold on a second. I should have had this already, but I got this here. The question is, when you have a circle, which is a round thing, how do you cut it into squares to find the area? Because that's what squares is. How would you do that? It's like when have you ever gotten the pizza from wherever and they cut them into square pieces? Do they all come out being squares? No, you get those little roundy edges sort of thing. So how in the wide, wide world of sports do you get squares out of circles? Well, if I can find this, I'm going to show you. Do you see anything that says something about area of a circle? Pi. Here it is. Congratulations. This is your lucky day, Wade Davis. Now we just have to wait. Patiently. It's an INK file, which means I don't know what that means. And 3, 2, please let it be. Oh, what's up with that? I don't know what that means. Anyways, how would you turn that? There is, this is kind of a clue for you, by the way. It's cut into lots of little pieces. How can I change that or convert that into a shape that I do know how to find the area of? Well, take a look-see here. I don't know why I did this twice. Maybe because I needed it twice. All right, I don't want that. Maybe it's over here. Let me see if this is it. Yes. See, if you take a piece like this, and I'm going to rotate it like this. If you take every piece, give it some time. Either my pen's not working or you think there's something wrong with that? There we go. Take a piece. And I rotate it like this. And I take another piece. Take another piece. Take another piece. Take another piece. And I rotate it like this. And I mash them together. And if I do this used to work a lot better when the pen worked, by the way. Put that piece here. I should do it at my, maybe if I did it at my desk it would work better. Because as it is right now, I'm losing the audience. And then I take this piece and I rotate it like this. I am a trained professional. And I take this piece and I rotate it like this. What shape, if I do this for everyone, which I don't think I'll take the time to do because I want to lull you to sleep. I know some of you prefer to sleep. What shape am I gradually making? If I did all that, what shape would it be? Wait, a rectangle. And if I cut them into super small pieces, I could do it to a certain extent that would be a perfect rectangle almost. I mean, if I cut these in half, then that would make this almost a straight up and down line. So you have to think to yourself, based on this circle, how do I find areas of rectangles? What's my formula for the area of a rectangle? Area of a rectangle. What is my formula for the area of a rectangle?
Area times pi. No,
Area
not
of a
area, but like the radius. Sorry.
Rectangle.
Oh, rectangle.
Length times width. That's my formula for the area of a rectangle. Well, if I think about this, and I use that, first of all, going with my width. What is the width of this? What do we call that? What is that width? It goes from the outside of the circle to that midpoint of the circle. What is that width? What do we call that? What is this? What is this from here to here called? I don't want a number. I want its name. It's the radius. The length is its radius. Right? Now I just need to multiply that by the width. Or the length, I'm sorry. Did I get those backwards? Is that what I was making? When I string all these together and I get this long line right here, it's going to be those little round things like this. What is that? What's this distance from here to here? It is not the diameter. Diameter is all the way through the circle, huh?
Circumference.
It's not the whole circumference, because the other half of the circumference is down here, right? And the other half of the circumference is up here. So if I take the radius times 1/2 the circumference, I am going to get the area of the circle. Now, we don't call it that. We need to manipulate this a little bit. How do you find circumference of a circle?
Or pi times.
The pi times diameter, right? So I need to take 1/2 of pi times diameter, right? But what is diameter? Diameter is,
The full length.
how do you find the diameter? Well, let me ask you this. What is 1/2 of the diameter?
Radius.
So I can get rid of this, 1/2 of the diameter, and just make it a radius. So now what am I left with for my formula for the area of a circle? And that's all you need to know. You don't even need to understand this. Radius times pi. The area of a circle, let's go back to my sheet over here. Where was it? The area of a circle equals radius times pi. Or, in the mathematical world, to make things sound ever so much more complicated, Tyler, it is area equals pi r squared. Pi times radius. And that's all you need to know to find the area of a circle, is its radius. If its radius is 6, then you just do area equals pi times 6 times 6. Or area equals 36 pi. Now, be careful with the book. The book sometimes will tell you to leave it in terms of pi. That should put a ginormous smile on your face, because they're just telling you, rather than changing pi to 3.14 or changing it to whatever, what's the fraction? 21/7. You can just leave it like this. You can just say, hey, the area is 36 pi's. Right. But you should have some idea what 36 pi is. 36 pi would be close to what? In ballpark figures. Pi is awful close to 3, so 3 times 36 is probably around 108 or 110 probably, once you add the extra change on in there. Okay. So really, you just need to know this. This is your boom, boom, boom. And this was how we found that. That's how the guy came up with it. Cut it into super small pi pieces. You know, the length, the width is the radius, and the length is 1/2 the circumference, and bam, everybody was happy on that. Now, a couple more things about circles. Are these. When you have a circle, and you take a chunk of a circle, instead of calling this mathematically a piece of pie, we call a pie piece of a circle a sector. It's the same thing as a piece of a circle. Okay? And we call this, when you have a circle and you have an angle in the middle of it, we call that angle a central angle. The center of a circle is that little angle there, is the central angle. And it's always good to know, ladies and gentlemen, that how many degrees are in a circle? There are 360 degrees in a circle. Which only makes sense because if you take a circle and you draw the crosshairs in it, those are perpendicular lines. How many 90-degree angles do you catch up in there? 4 90-degree angles is going to give you 360 degrees, which is what that circle is. Now, do they tell us to find, let's see what they ask us to do here. So here we go. A couple questions for you. Let's do this practice problem here. It gives us, write down this practice A, kind of out of the book here. It tells us this circle that has 45 degrees, is that what it says? Yes, it does. It is 4 centimeters, and it is RMS. It's the old Pac-Man thing. Somebody close that door, please. and they ask you to find the area of that sector. How do you suppose I would find, in terms of pi, by the way, in terms of pi. Any suggestions how in the world I would figure out the area of just this little pi piece? Anybody? I'll entertain any notions there. Evelyn.
You find the whole area and take out 1/8 of it, because that's 1/8 of a
Okay.
circle.
I think everyone's got the thing there. You need to figure out what fraction of the circle this is. How would I know what fraction 45 degrees is? Well, you'd say, well, 45 degrees out of how many?
360.
360 is what fraction?
1/8.
You do division, it is 1/8. So you just need to do this, and this is why I always like to see your work, because that's your thought process. Area of the circle. You find the area of the whole circle, and then you are going to divide it by 8, because you're finding 1/8 of it. And it's good to write it out like this, because it might save you some work down in the end, rather than doing the whole area of the circle and then dividing it by 8. What is my formula? And I need to see that. What's my formula for area of the circle? Pi times radius times radius. So if I fill in the blanks, I get pi times 4 times 4, all divided by 8. Because I'm taking my whole circle, I'm cutting it into 8 equal pieces. And this is where this will save you some time. Well, I guess it doesn't. It could or it couldn't. You could do 4 times 4 is 8 goes into 16 twice. And when you write this out, the number always comes before the pi. The area of the circle is 2 pi. Whatever that is, centimeters squared. Or, and this didn't save you a whole lot of time here, you could cross cancel. 4 goes into 4 once, into 8 twice. 2 goes into 2 once, into 4 twice. And you're left with 2 pi, which is what you're left with right there. And the same thing would be true if they asked you to find this distance from here to here. That distance from there to there would be the same thing as the circumference of the circle divided by 8, because it's 1/8 of that circumference. Which would be what, by the way? How do you find circumference of the circle? Oh boy. Wait.
Diameter times cost.
Pi times diameter. What was the diameter? So if you have 8 over 8, those are going to cross off. Guess what? How big is that?
1.
Just 1 pi, 3.14. I love math. What else did they give us here? Oh. Nope, not going to do it. Any questions on that? Abram?
How'd you get 4 when you were pi times 4 times 4?
Where did I get 4 where?
To the left, pi times 4 times 4 divided by 8.
Well, the area of a circle, what's the formula for the area of a circle? Pi times radius times radius. What's the radius of the circle? 4. So
Oh, I
it's
didn't
pi.
see the 4 centimeters.
Huh?
I didn't see the 4 centimeters.
4 times 4. And then you can divide that.